Carl Gaboy is a Minnesota artist and Ojibwe scholar who grew up in Ely, north of Duluth, near the Canadian border. He's both Finnish and Bois Forte Anishinaabe, and his art reflects those traditions in Minnesota history. In the spring of 2024, he published Fur Trade Nation, an Ojibwe's graphic history, which draws on his personal and family experience, his research as a cultural historian, the work of contemporary Indigenous scholars and artists, and with more than 800 illustrations, Gaboy's prolific artistic talents. Our friends at the Center for Global Environmental Education at Hamline University sent us this story.
I suppose the first idea for the book came when I was growing up in Ely, because all of my friends were trappers or else they wanted to be trappers. And trapping was something that adolescent boys did in Ely. But there's a kind of a gap. Nobody knew anything about the fur trade when I was growing up. That was never talked about. Even Indians never talked about it. Even though on any Indian reservation in Minnesota, there is a fur trade site. Leech Lake has several. Red Lake has about 4. The famous ones at Grand Portage, of course. But we didn't know any of that. Nobody ever talked about it. Education in this state was hand in hand with the Americanization program. The fur trade has too much Indian in it. And so when curriculum was developed in Minnesota, it started with Alexander Ramsey making the treaties with Indians who promptly disappeared. So it gave people the idea that there was nothing here till they came along. Well, first of all, Indians used furs. And in my book, I tried to show how some of these uses are done today in powwow outfits and so on, roach headdresses, buckskin dresses. The use of animal products in Indian country today is pretty impressive. It's still there. So you figure the fur trade, you had to start with Indians trading with each other. As the fur-bearing animals in Europe became extinct because of intensive trapping, fur hats became very fashionable. Happened right at about the same time that the colonists were being established on the eastern seaboard, and the British had come to Canada and the French had come to Canada. And they suddenly put everything together, and then they saw North America as filled with game animals, and so everyone thought that this would be a way to make a hell of a lot of money. The Indians, on the other hand, saw something that the Europeans had that was real vital to their culture, and that was, wait for it, the cooking pot. Now, I made a big point of this in the book because with the cooking pot, the Ojibwe were able to not only feed themselves more efficiently, but they were also able to feed the fur trade personnel as well. They could produce surplus of their food products. We should call it the cooking pot trade rather than the fur trade, because it was just as important on our end of the deal. Anybody who knows Indians knows that they had a very terrible 20th century. And I thought, I have to acknowledge that somehow. So I said that the people who had trade routes connecting oceans were forbidden to leave the reservation without a permit. Say, it's worse than saying, okay, you guys, you got to live here and you can't leave without a permit. But there were people who could get in a canoe and go to the Pacific if they chose. People who invented the canoe were removed from the Boundary Waters canoe area. That's very ironic that that should happen. Oh, and then just being left out of history. left out of fur trade history, certainly, then left out of any history of people here before. But see, if a person were to write a history of the Iron Range and then leave out the miners, that's like writing a book about Minnesota history and leaving out the Indians.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out our YouTube channel for even more Great Lakes Now. See you out on the lakes.